I'm in Central Australia on the road out of Alice Springs, and I'm on a mission to find some of our desert wildlife.
It's pretty special to be able to sit here and just have a look at how alive this sand dune is. You could mistake that. At this time of day, look around, there's nothing, but the sand tells you otherwise. Show me that tongue, buddy. Show me that tongue.
Mention deserts and most people will think of vast tracts of rolling sand dunes absent of life. That's not always the case, especially in Australia. Some of our most expansive desert regions are covered in low-lying plants that have adapted to the harsh conditions. And some deserts are even mountainous. I'm in Central Australia on the road out of Alice Springs, and I'm on a mission to find some of our desert wildlife. 35 degrees is the average summer temperature out here, so it stands to reason most animals want to escape the heat of the day.
Come on, mate, extra.
But I'm sure I can find something.
Come on, mate. Look at this. It's a little Ridgetail Monitor, and he's full grown. They'll eat anything that can fit in that mouth. Small mammals, other reptiles, little snakes and insects. And he gets his name, the Ridgetail Monitor, from these spines or ridges on his tail. Now that's his defence against predators. If an eagle comes down and tries to pull him out of a log or a rock, he erects those spines. And if you try and go against the grain, my finger can't move. Down, it's fine, but the other way, it doesn't work. And they're gonna keep him lodged in place. And he's swallowing air down. He does that, and his belly now's all hard. He puffs himself up, and that's trying to make him look good, look big, scary. You know what I love about the monitors? Just like snakes, they've got a forked tongue, and they use that to smell. Show me that tongue, buddy. Show me that tongue. All right, let's put him back. This is his log, this will be his home. See you, mate.
These rocky escarpments offer brilliant cover for reptiles.
Some of them are endemic, some local, but for many, it's their stronghold. I'm searching in every little nook and cranny, and I happened to look in here and see one of our little nocturnal mates. And he's escaping the sun's heat and in fact the light, and he'll hide in there all day until it's dark. It's a Knobtail Gecko, a Centralian Knobtail Gecko. Very cool looking little gecko, and they only live and call home these rocky hills in Central Australia. Come on, mate, they've got a good little bite too. Have you ever seen anything as prehistoric looking as that? Look at those big eyes. He's nocturnal, means he needs to draw in lots of light at night. Big eyes and a big mouth. Can swallow a cricket or a moth, almost as big as himself. They're also called the rough Knobtail Gecko because of these rough spikes or spines on the back. If you're wondering how they got the name, look at that little tail with a knob on the end. You know, that camouflage is unreal. On these rocks, blends in, looks like a rock, even has a little black stripe on the neck. Perfect. I'm gonna put him back in his little home. See you, mate. Okay, where is he? You see him? Here we go. It's a little whip snake. Oh, look at that. Yellow-faced whip snake. It's just a little one. They don't get very big, and they're mildly venomous, not dangerous to humans, maybe a gecko or a skink. Nice little snake. It's called a yellow-faced whip snake because of that little yellow mark on the face. And they're quick, it's hot, he's out here, I only just got a hold of him. They're a rear fang snake, so different than your typical front fang, say death adder, brown snake, rattlesnake. Rear fang mainly puts venom into its food to help with digestion. There you go, buddy. See you, mate.
Righto, time to move on. As you can see, the landscape around Alice isn't the rolling sand dune type most people would associate with the term desert. Not only is there low-lying grasses and other vegetation, there's trees, and big ones at that.
This is a giant desert oak. And for me, they're really symbolic of the Australian desert, along with red sand and spinifex. Now, they've got some clever adaptations. Their roots go deep down into the earth to tap into groundwater, to suck up into that giant trunk. Their leaves, their needles, are really thin, and that means there's less surface area for the sun to hit. And they're fire resistant. They grow tall, meaning the grass fires don't affect them. And in traditional times, they've been used by desert people for tools because their timber is so hard.
And that's what the animals out here have to be as well. I mean, you wouldn't want to mess with this fella, would you?
I'm on the top of a red dune in the middle of Australia. And I don't expect to find any animals right now. It's pretty hot and it's daytime. But there's communication highways everywhere here. And if you look, we've got lizard tracks, small marsupial, a little macropod track, a small type kangaroo. We've got dunarts. And the one I like the best is a snake track. And it comes all the way down, squiggles around me here, and off it goes. It's a small snake. Hard to say what it is. Tracks would have been put there last night, and it's a sheltered spot here, so the wind hasn't covered them over. It's pretty special to be able to sit here and just have a look at how alive this sand dune is. You could mistake that. At this time of day, look around, there's nothing, but the sand tells you otherwise.
Now, this little fella truly is a prime example of how Australia's wildlife has adapted and evolved like nowhere else. His features are so unique, and they've enabled him to live in one of the harshest environments on Earth.
Have you ever seen anything like that? It's a Thorny Devil. They're only found here in Central Australia, on the red dirt and spinifex country. Every part of the Thorny Devil's body is made to assist in the life out here in the harsh deserts. And to start with, he only eats ants in this tiny little mouth. His tongue works similar to a chameleon. He gets on an ant line where the ants run, sits there and picks them off one at a time. His thorns are so sharp and his skin is so tough that no predator tries to swallow him like a snake or a goanna because he's so spiny, and a bird of prey won't bother because it can't tear through the skin. Now, this lump on the back of the head, very special, very clever. It's called a false head. Now, if a bird come down and tried to peck the dragon, it would go for the head to try and kill it. Now, what this Thorny Devil will do is stand up and show that false head up in the air, and the bird thinks that is his head rather than the real one, and do a lot less damage.
They spend most of the day out in the sun, right in view of potential predators. But that camouflage is brilliant. It blends in with the sticks, leaves, bark and grasses. Just what's needed out here.
I want to show you one last thing, and it blows my mind. It is so unique. I need to put him back here on the ground.
Here's where it gets interesting. The Thorny Devil has an amazing feature that helps it make the most of the desert's morning dew. Each morning, the devil will wander beneath vegetation and wait for dew to drop. And with the aid of microgrooves that cover its body, will channel that water straight to its mouth. I'm here in the heat of the day, so I'm having to use my bottle of water to demonstrate this. Look here. As I fill the basin beneath him, his skin darkens as the water makes its way to his mouth in capillary action. Simply amazing.
This is Triodia, otherwise known as Hermit Grass, and it covers a massive proportion of the arid interior of Australia. And it's a pretty special and unique little plant. Now, it's evolved in this harsh Australian environment and can withstand long periods with no rain, harsh droughts. And it has these needle-sharp spines for two reasons. One, it stops things from eating the Triodia. Two, they're thin, and the sun that's blazing down at them doesn't make all the moisture within it evaporate. They're tiny, not much sun hits it. And they're also home to a huge raft of Australian animals. They are protection. A predator like a goanna, an eagle, can't get into that clump. So they're home to things like spinifex, hopping mice, small skinks, geckos, and a whole raft of Australian species. Very important.
I'm always banging on about introduced species and the damage they're doing to our continent. But there's one or two that have made their own way here that I'm not so worried about.
Look at that. That's a little gecko, a Ridgetail, really common throughout Australia, and they're really interesting. Now, they form two groups, one that evolved here in Australia and one that evolved elsewhere and caught a lift here, maybe on a piece of driftwood, and that's him. Now, he would have come here from another continent and drifted to Australia, and over time, they've pioneered even as far as the inland deserts. The other group, well, they look a lot cooler than this little guy. They've evolved here in Australia. They're rough, odd sizes and shapes. I like them all the same. He's hiding there just under a little bit of bark, and when it's night time, he'll come out and knock off any little insects on this dune. Now, he's still able to walk on glass. You know, he doesn't have suction caps, but the hairs are so fine on their feet that they can actually get into the little nooks and crannies in glass. I'm gonna pop him back down here, right back under his little shelter there. That's fine, good find.
Now, don't get me wrong, the whippy I saw earlier was great, but it's this fella who I've really been looking forward to seeing. It's late in the afternoon now, the temperature has dropped, and this is when the desert comes to life. It's a Woma python, and he's on the hunt.
They have some true desert features, more so than all other snakes. Most pythons have heat-sensing pits along the bottom jaw, but not Womas. And that's because they mainly eat reptiles, snakes and lizards. Not much use having heat-sensing pits when your prey's cold-blooded. And their body's muscular and strong. They can go down a burrow, a lizard's burrow, they grab the lizard and they don't constrict like most pythons would. They use their muscular body and they push up against the walls of the burrow and squash their prey and kill it that way. It's hard to constrict when you're in a confined space. And the muscular body, it's also useful when the sand's hot. It's the perfect time of day right now. It's late afternoon, Woma's coming out for a hunt, but the sand's still warm. But as they move along the ground, only parts of their body are actually touching the sand. If their whole body was on it and it was hot like this, they risk overheating. So you'll see different bits and pieces lifting off the ground. Womas will even eat other snakes, king brown snakes, for example, almost the same size as them. They'll swallow them whole, and the snake will double up inside the Woma. And they live down in burrows through the day. They tuck away where it's cool and they won't overheat. And this time in the afternoon when the sun's going down and the reptiles are starting to slow down, the lizards and everything of the daytime, the Woma wakes up. And this country's perfect. Red sand, flat country. They love it in the desert, but they don't live on the sand dunes. They live in between them in this flat country, in amongst mulga, spinifex, and red sand that's a little bit harder. And they're not that camouflaged. They don't need to be because they're mainly nocturnal. I'll let him go. I don't want to get in the way of him and his next meal. There you are, mate. That Woma was brilliant. And a sunset in the desert's just spectacular. And it's like an alarm clock for the wildlife. They wake up now, they come to life. Oh, we got one more, a little dragon. Just saw him drop down. Come and have a look, see if we can get him. Okay. Where did he go? He was sitting right on this log, tall and proud. It was a dragon, I'm not sure what sort. There's little burrows everywhere. He'll be here somewhere, that'll be his home. There's a central netted dragon, just stuck right up under those sticks. And he's sitting there motionless, his eyes just open a little bit. And he thinks that I can't see him. Just bring him out there. Come on, little mate. Oh, there he goes. Hey, look at that. Central netted dragon, pretty common in the middle of Australia. Gets its name from this netting on the back, and that's a little male. Can tell by these spurs that run along the legs there. Quite a few dragons get them, only the boys. One of their biggest predators is monitors, sand goannas, perennies. There's a bit of a scratch here. Someone's had an inquiry. But this is a perfect little mound, raised, and it's his home, and I bet all the girls around here know it, and he's the big boy. And they're fast runners, and they've got long legs. And you need to be here because you got a whole raft of birds of prey above and monitors on the ground. Everyone's trying to eat you. Maybe even a Woma. I'm gonna put him back where he was to get that last bit of afternoon sun. There you go, mate. Stay there.